Something so interesting happened this weekend, Stugotz, because I am in the camp, and you make fun of me for this. When it comes to mixed martial arts, I sort of put down some of my moralities. I've always liked the art of it. So when I'm watching football, I know the trades I'm making, like the Teddy Bridgewater thing I want to talk about, and how uncomfortable Elijah Riley in the Jets game, how uncomfortable it is. And Joe Buck talking about the night before, something that looked like a quivering, spasming seizure of some sort, headed toward the locker room on a stretcher, and Joe Buck got crucified for saying that it was cold in Los Angeles that night and sort of putting on the costume of this is different than what you think you're watching. When it comes to the mixed martial arts, I've been a purist. I like the art of it. I really do. I know it's barbaric, and I know that John McCain called it cockfighting once upon a time, but I liked just the art of it. I like the art of boxing. You make fun of me, and I lose. I lose now to Jake Paul. He's really smart.
Everyone loses to Jake Paul.
He's really smart. He does not care about the discerning in Woodley's not a striker, and he's 5 years shot. Like, Woodley is shot. That is, he has propped up an opponent twice, and he should give him a Rolex like he did before the fight, because now he can attack Dana White and say, bring me all your champions. And Dana will ignore him, but at his own risk, because Jake Paul has been really smart about how he has handled the fight game and his opponents, and kids win and popular wins, and Jake Paul is calling it the greatest night of his life because now he's got the signature knockout as well, and nobody cares that it's a washed Woodley who couldn't strike to begin with, and is like, it's not the same sport, right? He is taking advantage of the fact that you could bring not all the UFC guys, but the UFC guys who are not strikers, you could bring them into a boxing ring, and Jake Paul might have some advantages because, I mean, it's not, Chuck Liddell doesn't survive anymore in mixed martial arts. You can't just be a striker, but none of that matters. The discerning does not matter. Chris, did you eat this up? Because he looks like to people who aren't paying attention to like what real boxing is, and they don't care, and I will lose caring about it. You're watching this, and it's like, this is amateur boxing. This is really amateur, but not as an event. It's not. And now he's calling out Dana White, and Dana White has got to sort of like continue to tell his people, hey, the art of this, I'm not going to grace this man's circus with commentary, but Jake Paul keeps bringing the fight to UFC by saying, bring me all your champions, bring me all your guys who can't actually strike. McGregor, bring me all of them, and he's setting up a payday here.
It's brilliant that he's just taking the steps up the ladder so small. It's like every fight he's fought, the person that he's fighting has a little bit more credibility than the last one. So it's like, it's just brilliant by him. I don't know how much money he's made these last 2 years, but he could have just, maybe McGregor would take a fight with him, but he's smart to just be like, I'll fight 5 guys before I fight McGregor. And now to the point of he hasn't really fought a striker yet. The people he's calling out next are strikers, at least. They're not boxers. They're UFC strikers in Nate Diaz and Masvidal.
Hold on. Masvidal was fighting in the back of Perrine and Gould's bare knuckle with cargo shorts on. Like, he is not only a striker, he's a bare knuckle boxer. Like, that's somebody that you do not want to.
But my point is like that we could see that. Like, we could actually, the next one could be something that's like, okay, now let's see if he can actually.
You understand my larger point. This kid and his family are going to win because what Floyd Mayweather was a brilliant businessman about keeping the pay-per-views. This kid's the spectacle now. He has got the ability to get a whole bunch of people in the tent to be curious about a young YouTube star who now you don't have to be discerning about this. It looks like he's making his way through the fight game. And that's beating up Nate Robinson and Woodley twice is not nearly that, but he can package it and he can sell it.
He's already won, but what happens if he loses? Like, does it go away that quickly if he loses?
But here's the thing, he's never going to pick an opponent that he can lose to so quickly. Right,
no,
like
but
that's
eventually
the thing.
You got to fight like a Conor. You got to validate.
He's not gonna, nobody's going to give him that validation from the UFC world. Masvidal, Nate Diaz would punch his lights out.
But he could just keep calling them out from a distance.
From a distance,
though.
yeah, of course, and be the winner.
And not take any of the fights. This is what I'm saying. He is spinning the game on his finger, and he keeps going after Dana White The bully, Dana White, the guy who won't pay his fighters, who doesn't pay his fighters, and he's giving away money. He's given Woodley 2 paydays he's never had being a champion because Dana White keeps all the money. And I can't root against that. Like, I could not like, a million different things about what he represents, but being smart enough to outsmart the fight game to make yourself that kind of relevant, and UFC's looking down on you after UFC came out of the gutter, looking down at you, and you're looking up at them and saying, bringing the fight to them, saying, who wants me from your world? And Dana White's, he's pinned, man. Like, what's he going to do?
To whom? Like, who knows anything about fighting thinks that Jake Paul is actually a good fighter?
No, but
I understand it's a completely different audience that he's courting.
I think it's a little dismissive, though. I think there's somewhere in the middle. You got, like, he's proven that he's not a joke of a boxer.
Okay, he's not a joke. He
might not be. Obviously, I don't think anyone thinks he's like elite world class.
He's an amateur boxer bringing in streaming service numbers that is like Mayweather when you go into Mexico and stuff. Like, these are off his fame and off his name.
But what does that mean? Like, it means money for him, and congratulations.
That's all it means.
But like, you're almost saying like there's an air of sporting legitimacy about it.
I'm saying it doesn't matter, Chris.
I know, of course it doesn't matter, but like,
no, Chris, he's saying,
but what difference does it make? Like, you can do this in a backyard on YouTube, or you can do this on Showtime pay-per-view.
The point is he's doing it on Showtime pay-per-view. That's the point.
They're chasing money.
But he sold out an arena. Dan's point is, yeah, but Dan loves boxing. But this kid, it's not boxing. We all agree. It's entertainment and boxing.
But what does it mean?
He's winning.
But okay,
it means
he's making a lot of money. I'll grant you that.
But
like, no one actually thinks that if he went into the boxing ranks, he can win a championship belt. If he went into the UFC, he can win a championship belt.
No, Chris, I think the audience they're courting, that it's flimsy and superficial enough. And I'm not disparaging young people here. I'm saying if you've already announced to me that you don't care about whether or not this is exceptional boxing, if you can be new to the sport, arrive here and be like, oh my God, my hero or this famous person, he's mowing down professional fighters, not amateurs. He's mowing them down. I see a whole lot of people that he's talking to that are his customers that he can get to keep paying him whatever those things cost every couple of months as he fights these exhibition bouts that aren't even as long as like he's going 6 rounds. He can come back and fight in a few, because it's not real boxing, because Woodley's not a striker. He can come back earlier than other fighters and fight again, like sooner than Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather never got hit.
My 2 17-year-old daughters are 2 of his customers. They don't know boxing. They don't care about it. They don't know Ali, Sonny Liston. They don't know Roberto Duran. They don't know anything. As far as they're concerned, Jake Paul is Ali. I mean, I'm serious, Chris.
But not to say that the opinion of your 17-year-old daughters doesn't matter, but
go ahead and say that.
This is entertaining.
Right, exactly.
I'm confused.
Right.
We're all sitting here like we're boxing experts. Like, I prefer my jabs to be a little more extended. Like, this is all just for entertainment.
No, sure.
Tony and I on Saturday night are texting about it. We're interested in it. It might not be real boxing,
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's real boxing. It's a spectacle.
None of this matters.
It's Darren Williams pushing Frank Gore through a ring.
That was wrong, by the way.
That was disqualified.
It happened like 3 times.
Nothing actually matters. What are we doing with the nothing matters thing?
Existential Chris over here. This is new. New character.
But
by the way, the big win of the night, I think, was Darren Williams' bleach blonde hair, because when he had his regular hair, a bit suspect, right? But the bleach blonde, no more questions asked.
That was the upset of the night, right? Everyone was expecting Frank Gore to handle that, and he didn't.
Darren Williams has hands, by the way.
Frank Gore could have started on half of the teams in the league yesterday.
You're right.
He would be the number 7 fantasy running back this
How
weekend.
did no one need Frank Gore yesterday?
Did anyone see the still shot of Frank Gore's face before one? There was like a slow-mo of his thing where he's just like,
yeah, it looks terrified. What have I gotten myself into? And then Darren Williams says afterward, I'm one and done. My dumb old ass doesn't want to do this again, because that's terrifying. Frank Gore is like a pit bull. He's another one whose body is made of bowling balls. I think it was 20 years earlier, so it couldn't have been who Butch Davis was talking about. But Frank Gore is exactly that kind of
Mount Rushmore bowling ball guy, I'd say. Frank Gore.
Frank Gore, I believe, was quoted after the fight as saying, I got hit and I didn't throw back. He was basically saying he forgot to throw punches. essentially.
He
Like
looked around. He looked around, and Darren Williams just socked him in the face. He was like, "Oh shit!"
he's gonna punch me again.
There are no teammates out here. There are no linemen. I
Thought
can't
this would be Nate
Wait a
Robinson.
minute. Why can't I go 3.5 yards and just get down and they stop hitting me? No, that is because that's crazy. Like what these people do for a living is nuts. And Frank Gore, he wasn't embarrassed though. Like it frightened me when I saw Darren Williams throw him through the ropes. The strength of Darren Williams frightened me. And I love that in the middle of talking about this, Stugotz launched a hot take of, and throwing him through the ropes was wrong, by the way. So please, you weren't allowed the space.
I mean, he's dragging around a legend who's going to go to Canton 3.5 yards at a time. I mean, I just felt bad. I don't know. Darren Williams is good at boxing. Frank Gore is a Miami legend. Frank Gore, I don't think he realized that you have to punch in boxing. And so I felt bad that Darren Williams was dragging a Miami legend all over the ring and then throwing him out of the ring. It was wrong. Show some respect for Frank Gore.
Did you guys see what was going on with Frank Gore's trunks? Because he had logos from specific teams, but quite randomly, there was a University of Michigan logo on his trunks. And I'm kind of wondering if he went to a tailor and said, yeah, give me a UM logo on my trunks, and they just put a Michigan one on there. Was I the only one that saw this?
I think you need to launch an investigation. I think this is where you need to become an insider again. You need to get to the bottom of that. That would.
I think he asked for a UM logo, thinking that the nation refers to the U as UM, and someone gave him a Michigan logo on his trunks,
and he didn't bother to look at it. That was also the look on his face in that in the meme. He did look scared, horrified, angry.
Frank Gore also didn't realize that Darren Williams is 6'3" and was punching him from so far away that he was just eating punches. He's like, how is this guy hitting me so far away?
It is not, Stugotz. That is when you say Darren Williams is a good boxer, he is not. But he's just not. He might be a good boxer for someone who's not.
That's right.
A boxer.
They'll retire 1-0, Dan.
But Billy, it sounds like you ate it up, right? So let me cede the floor to people who enjoyed the holy hell out of this because, again, Jake Paul is brilliant, and whoever it is that's helping him with the managing of this is brilliant because he is going to win in every way that he considers currency.
I'm just not understanding, like, everyone's like wants this like when you watch boxing, you're like, oh, that's a nice, like, it's just two guys in a ring beating each other up. Like, I don't understand, like, maybe Dan is like watched boxing longer than us, so he has this like respect for the sport, but like we're just like looking for an entertaining fight, right? If they're coming out swinging, I don't care how good of a boxer they actually are. I want to see an exciting fight, and Jake Paul does that.
But if we watched like a high school football game and they were throwing 80-yard touchdowns, you wouldn't watch it.
But I don't think this is that bad. I think you guys are, I mean, I'm not saying Jake Paul is some great boxer, but he's gotten in the ring with a handful of people and he knocks people out, everybody.
But Woodley's not, but he's not a threat as a striker.
Okay, I'm not, see, once again, we're getting caught into like this, oh, he's technically.
The minutia,
like it's just overall, he's fighting guys in the fight game and he's knocking people out. I'm not saying that he won't get his ass kicked against a Masvidal. I want to see that. But I'm just saying, I just don't understand this. It seems like everyone's in here like, oh, I need it to be more technical. I need him to slip jabs better. It's like, who gives a shit?
I just want to watch. I want to watch the best. Like this is nowhere near the best of what they do.
I mean,
who's the number one boxer right now coming up? Are you watching WBC boxing? Okay,
no,
so what does it matter?
Well, I don't watch this. I don't watch this. Like it does nothing for me that some famous like. There was like celebrity boxing has existed for a very long time. Just because this is well packaged celebrity boxing, like it's not interesting to know that you're watching people who are probably not very good at this and would not stand the test of sporting scrutiny.
This is a kid that was a YouTuber that's like, what am I going to do with my life? He stumbled into this boxing thing and he's dived into it. Like full, like,
and he's become a legitimate boxer.
That's what I mean. Like,
he's a legit boxer.
I don't think you realize that. Like, he's a boxer now. I know he was a YouTuber and he's an asshole, so people don't like him. But
that's Whittingham's problem. He's saying he's not a boxer. If he fought Canelo Alvarez, it'd be over in 13 seconds. Like,
which is probably true. I don't know. Which is probably true. But I
want to watch 70 pounds on Canelo.
But I want to watch that.
Yeah, same. He's more entertaining than Floyd. We can agree to that, right?
Yes.
Floyd's boring to watch.
Well, but he's trafficking in some of the same stuff, though, right? Floyd got people to his fights because he was public asshole and people wanted to see him lose. His fights weren't actually entertaining. That was the grift he was running. That's why I was saying that before this guy is entering the realm of Floyd Mayweather, I believe is one of the great sports businessmen of all time because he owned his intellectual property before that was a thing. Like he was doing pay-per-view and he was just trafficked in your hate, profited off it. You wanted to see him get knocked out. This kid's got the same grift going. I have to respect it when you can command the dirty game and you're like 4 fights in and you didn't have to do any of the work that like real amateur boxers who have to devote their lives to this never get a fraction of these paydays.
This is like pop music. People love it. It's not great music.
It is great music.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just saying, I feel like that's a decent comparison because I feel like people are just dismissing this.
Dirty secret of the fight game, guys. Be the bigger asshole and you'll sell. Conor McGregor was a tremendous asshole. He also backed it up by beating everybody for 2 straight years. And that sells.
That we
Jake
knew.
Paul, Floyd Mayweather, be the biggest asshole in the room. Nate Diaz. Like, you're going to get fights.
And Chael Sonnen as well. Like, this is a well-traveled
John
model.
Jones.
But you also know that these dudes are incredible at what they do. Like, Conor McGregor was an amazing fighter. Jake Paul is just a dude who took up boxing as a hobby.
But Whitty, he's not just a dude. He's been training like a boxer for 2 years and has 4 fights under his belt that he has won handily.
Saturday was a lateral move for Jake Paul.
No, that knockout was big. That knockout was big for his career.
He fought the same guy, and he beat the same guy because he was willing to take a paycheck on 2 weeks' notice. Because the guy he was actually supposed to fight, who was a decent to mediocre boxer in Tommy Fury, backed out of the fight. But like what happened on Saturday was a lateral move for him.
How would you manage his boxing career, Whitty?
I would tell him to not box anymore because he's not a boxer.
Why would you tell him to not box?
Make money anymore?
What's happening here
with you?
Whitty, this is terrible
This is
advice.
crazy.
I don't understand. Why?
He's
Wait a
old,
minute.
Dan.
Wait a minute. Whitty.
Okay.
Whitty. I want to ride with Whitty on this. Okay.
No one wants to
Okay,
ride with
here-
Woody on this.
But Whitty, I cannot have you out here in public microphones. You cannot advise Jake Paul after the night of his life at the height of a profit center. You need to retire now because I, Whitty, say so.
Okay. He can keep boxing. He can keep making his
nice
money.
of you, right?
And, that's fine. But you're not going to get any kudos from anyone for how good you are as a boxer. Like,
I think he'll take the millions of dollars over.
Go ahead, go make your money. But I'm not like this is not a legitimate sporting enterprise. Frank Gore fighting Darren Williams,
But it has been.
It's a
That was wrong, man.
sideshow for money.
Should have done that.
Whitty, it has turned into a legitimate sports empire. He's built Showtime
Okay.
boxing back. It didn't have
unbelievable.
shit, and now it's back.
It's unbelievable. Ariel Helwani is out there giving the sport its legitimacy, and they're smart to pay him for it.
But why do you want to ride with Whittingham on this? I mean, the only one riding with Whittingham is Bob Arum. I mean,
Well, this is why boxing throughout time always loses, but always sells. The fighting, the talking about it. This kid has made a boxing conversation. Jim Lampley won't do some of these spectacle fights because he respects the sport that way. But Jim Lampley's an old man who can cries on air all the time talking about boxing while calling matches because he loves the gladiator pure courage in it. And what these guys are doing is more circus tenty.
Think about this for a second. UFC 269 that just happened. Juliana Pena just beat Amanda Nunes, the biggest upset in UFC history. There is nothing bigger than that. We didn't talk about it on the show for an entire week. This is the first time I'm bringing it up. We talk about Jake Paul the day after the fight. That's why it's big, Woody. That's why it's there. There's a reason why it's happening.
I grant you that this is a famous thing that a lot of people are talking about. It just has no sporting merit.
Yeah, but
which is
you
cool.
say that without
They'll
having
make a lot of
watched
money.
a second of it. You're just
Yeah,
kind of
Why
like,
would I
watched it.
watch that? It's celebrity boxing.
What were you doing Saturday
night?
night?
Sporting merit before it happens, and you don't need to see it to know it doesn't happen.
I was watching the Colts and the Patriots. I was watching Carson
That
Wentz.
game was over.
I was watching
That game was
Carson
over,
Wentz
Woody. Stop.
complete 5 passes.
No, that game was over. What'd you do after?
Went to bed.
All right,
Okay, thank you.
That's definitely a
can you
Michigan
guys-
M. Mike has the in the group in the Zoom right now. That is a Michigan M for sure.
Whitty, just say it. The Pauls saved boxing.
Thank you.
What?
Say it.
I love
Boxing is fine.
I think there's probably a lot of
Yes.
people that agree with Whitty, but their reasoning is that they just don't like the Pauls and they're trying to do it in this like roundabout, it's not real boxing way. Like, it's okay if you don't
But
like
it's
him.
not
A lot
real
of people don't
boxing.
like him.
There's like no one who's in the top 100 of the
Oh my
WBO
God.
fighters. Like,
Did
these
they wear
are not
gloves?
professional boxers.
Did they wear gloves? Were they in a ring? It's boxing, buddy.
Thank you.
Whitty, I do. I stand with you.
But-
Right up until
No.
Whitty, I stand. I
don't.
stand with you on yelling, howling at clouds. This has no legitimate sports merit, and thinking you're going to win that argument. I follow you, the spirit of what it is that you're arguing on behalf of. But you lose, he wins, and he wins by knockout.
He wins what? He wins money.
He wins money, but he also wins.
What do you think he's doing it
wins
for?
The part that you're not taking into account because you're an old person, he wins the currency that is so valuable in his YouTube space to him and to us. He is the content. He owns the content. He is going into the fight game as a professional wrestler. He's playing the fight game correctly, and he is making more for fighters than anyone, because Dana White doesn't share that money. Dana White and the corporation and Disney take that money, and the fighters get 18% of it. And this dude, no matter how much we can criticize, hey, is this great or not, has us talking about this in a way that Adrian Broner couldn't make us do. And Broner was trying to play this game poorly after Floyd, a legitimate boxer trying to play that game. He's got all of the things that you need to get the currency of the day in YouTube, your attention. Like, that's what he wins. Your attention is the currency. It's what pays for everything.
And he's so polarizing that he has somebody who hasn't watched a second of his fight just dismissing it completely.
Yes.
Like, this guy's a joke. Like, that's kind of, he wins even more there.
It is amazing artistry to see this dude specifically come in and spin all of this on his finger. Because Dana White, what is the counter from Dana White on this? As he howls, bring me all your champions. Bring me all of them. Hey, guy who won't pay for his fighters. Guy, I just gave Woodley again the payment of his career. I gave him a Rolex beforehand. Hey, thanks for making this possible. I'm paying the people on the undercard more than your UFC fighters are paid. And now he's coming after Dana White publicly. I don't know. Does Dana White sit it out? He's a bully. Does Dana White not punch down? Because he's been dismissing him in this press conference. But Dana, you've become the thing that you didn't want to be when you were fighting your way up the chain.
The establishment.
You're the corporate overlord establishment. You work with Disney now, dude.
It's silence, right? That's the comeback. There's silence. He can't say anything because if he says something to Jake Paul, he's legitimizing that. Oh yeah, if I loan somebody out to
Validates
Showtime
him.
Boxing, it validates what you're doing. So yeah, you can take Ben Askren, who's already out of his deal. You can take Woodley, who's been washed for 10 years. Like, yeah, it's easy for him to not look at it. But now that he's asking for Masvidal, Nate Diaz, Connor, the big guys, he's got to say nothing.
I love Nate Diaz being at the fight, getting interviewed, and being like, "No, I'm not here for Jake." It's like, dude, you're sitting ringside. Like, what? Like, are
He's
we
here for
that?
Darren
Nobody
Williams.
wants to give Jake Paul anything. That's
Frank
like Nate
Gore.
Diaz is there, sitting ringside. I'm here for my boy that fought earlier. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing right now?
But here, if he were to take one of the Diaz brothers next, that would get a lot of people
Would be
watching
huge.
the fight.
And but I think he's a couple fights from then people like Woody having to be like, if he beats Nate Diaz, it's a step. It's what?
not beating Nate Diaz.
Okay,
He
my
won't
point.
beat, he won't beat him though.
Nate Diaz is a
that's
zombie.
Whittingham's point.
I don't know.
All right, but I think the point is that we don't really, like, we're all just saying that like we're these experts. It's like, we don't know. We've all thought Jake Paul was going to lose a couple fights ago. And, people thought that Nate Robinson could beat Jake Paul.
Whitty, outside of Canelo, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder, name 5 boxers
Well,
that
I
are
just
active.
I just happened to pull up the,
Oh, look at him. He's
the divisional rankings.
Oh my God.
I want him
Okay.
I want Jake Paul to fight the number 10 boxer in the heavyweight division, who apparently is a lad named Otto Wallen.
But hold on, he's not a heavyweight.
If he fights Wait, he's not a heavyweight?
He's not a
What
heavyweight.
does he
He's
fight at?
weighing instead of 190 pounds. That's not a heavyweight.
No. No, how about he fights Steve Eiserman and we have a couple brewskis?
I like that. Yeah.
Yes.
How about fight Dana White? That would be the biggest fight ever.
Yes.
Dan still has to fight Dana
Imagine
White,
the
though.
numbers.
All right. So if Jake Paul fights at 190, then he's a cruiserweight. The number 10 cruiserweight, according to ESPN,
Rey
is a guy
Mysterio.
called Brandon Glanton. Get Brandon Glanton on the phone.
How boring would that
Brandon
be?
Glanton would knock him out in a
Get Jeremy
round.
Burnitz on the phone. Get Jeremy Burnitz. I don't want. I've heard of him.
Please, Guillermo, put this on the
I
poll.
love the idea of him fighting hockey players and former badass athletes.
At LeBatard Show on Twitter, Guillermo. Get Brandon Glitton on the phone. Yes or no?
Bob Probert.
You don't think Jake Paul versus Lance Stevenson would do major numbers?
Oh my God.
Ron Artest? What about Meta World Peace?
Wow.
I don't think
That'd
they.
be great.
I don't think they weigh out the same. Meta World Peace had him by a couple.
But wait a minute, way out the same. Hasn't Jake Paul been a good bit bigger than the people he's been fighting against?
No, they've been
physically?
getting the cruiserweight. Like, so here's the thing. Woodley fought at welterweight. He's fighting at 155 pounds, 170 pounds if you moved up. Like, that's 30 pounds heavier than what he's supposed to be fighting at. So he's going to be slower. He's going to be, not as good a shape as he used to be. So he's got to find somebody that's in his weight class.
So a guy who's you said has been washed for 10 years is fighting
5
30
years.
pounds
5
above
years.
his
Yes,
weight
yes.
is the reason why I need to care about
But
Jake
Whitty,
Paul.
But
Please.
Whitty, you don't need to care about Jake Paul, but your discerning doesn't matter here is what I'm saying. It's why I can't
So
ride with you.
upset.
It doesn't matter. What Chris and Tony and all, they win.
He's got enough people riding with him. He doesn't need you.
You
Again,
lose.
Sure,
I lose.
but he's not a good boxer.
But you
That's
don't
how-
actually care about boxing.
Yes,
Is the thing. You just
exactly.
care enough
Okay.
to be upset about Jake Paul.
No.
You couldn't even name boxers without Googling. You don't care about boxing.
No, I
You
don't
just
care, but
that Jake
I do
Paul's making
care.
a joke of it.
Like, it's sport at the there's no other sport that we do this for. None.
But there's
if I said there's a celebrity football game at
Oh, I would
Hard,
watch.
Oh, I
at
love
Hard
that.
Rock
I'd be
Stadium
all
on
over
Saturday.
it.
No, you
Flag
wouldn't.
football,
They
yeah.
play
Talking
whenever
about.
they play whenever
Jake
you're
Paul
in the
playing?
Super
Have
Bowl.
you
You don't
seen
give a
the
yeah.
shit.
softball
Pro Bowl's
game
good,
of
yeah.
Major League Baseball All-Star
Love
Weekend?
that
But
one.
there's
Get outta
probably
here.
some crappy 24-year-old that's 5-0 in his career that we don't know of yet. He's not on any of these rankings, but you don't dismiss that guy as being a
You
boxer,
just
up
got
and coming
dismissed,
boxer.
my friend. I just saw Chris Whittingham, and this is outrage. He whipped his arm and he gave you the back of his hand. If he had a fencing glove, he would have slapped you across the face
yeah,
with
he
it.
would've.
He just
Celebrity fencing would be dope.
Oh my God.